Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're okay. Hope you're enjoying my crafting channel and I hope you can start subscribing. Yes, I know it's been a bit clay sort of themed recently, but as you know from my recent crafty shopping haul, there are other things on the horizon. So yeah, get subscribing guys. So today it is air dry clay. I know it's the project I told you I was really excited about and it's now finished. Let me show you. Look. So we've got a little tea light inside, can you see it flickering away? So this is my little fairy house and it's just made from a old jam jar. And I'm going to show you how I made it. Now the first part of the video, I've fast forwarded the actual making of it because otherwise it would take forever for you to see it step by step. But I'm going to talk you through the video even though it's going quite fast behind it, if that makes sense. This isn't a quick project, I'll be honest, because you need to leave it to dry at different stages, and the more time you spend on it, the more I think it comes out more effective. What do you think? And you can do whatever you like. I'm going to make a couple more of these but slightly different, which I will share with you because I really quite enjoyed making this. It was really fun and I think it's come out really well. So let's show you how I've made it. Right, so I took a piece of air dry clay which I rolled out and I folded it over the jam jar. Now at the bottom you'll see it didn't actually quite meet, but it didn't matter because that was where I was going to cut my door out. And then you need to mould that clay around the jar, making sure that all the edges are sort of smoothed out. I use my finger for quite a lot. You can keep adding more clay like I did at the bottom and keep rolling it until it all sort of blends in together. Clay is quite good when it's still wet because it does allow you to sort of move it around and manipulate it. For the door I used a heart cutter at the top because I wanted it to look like a heart shape at the top of the door. So I used that as a guide and then just tidied it up. Again, adding more clay at the bottom once I knew where the door frame was sort of going to look. It takes time guys. I'm not going to be saying, you know, this is a quick project. As I said earlier, to get it looking as smart as possible you do need to spend a bit of time and sort of moving the clay around, smoothing it off and things like that. For the windows I used again heart cutters but smaller ones, and again just smooth out the heart shape after you've taken the clay out just to make it more smooth. And you can put as many windows in as you want really. I've got quite a few because I thought the more I have the more light will travel through it. And then just sort of work on your door frame and your heart and then just make sure that you're absolutely happy with everything. You can just be creative. At this point you can see there's still marks on the clay. It's fine at the moment because I'm going to show you in a second how then I smoothed it all out just to give it a nicer effect. So you just get a bit of water and a sponge and just not lightly rub it, not even a rub actually, just smooth it out, and then where you see any edges just pop them back in. Then I used just a little clay knife to mark out the bricks as random as you like. If you don't do bricks you don't have to do bricks. I just wanted to have like a brick effect. It can be as messy as mine is or you can make it more uniformed. And then I decided I wanted to put a step on the door, so just adding that on very quickly just because I thought it would look more effective, and I think you'll see on the final effect it did come out really well. I then put a door frame around the door again just because I think it adds to the effect. So this isn't a quick project and it's one of these projects that you can, you know, add and build on as much as you like until you start painting it, or even after painting it I suppose you can still build it up. When I came to put this out to dry I just wanted to make sure that nothing stopped it drying all the way around, so it's got clay at the bottom, and the best thing that I found to do this was an old wine bottle. So I've literally placed it upside down in the wine bottle and just left it I left it about a week to be honest with you, to dry completely, and this I found was the easiest way to do it. Now for the mushroom top I took a jar lid that was bigger than the jar I used and then just rolled out a piece of clay which I then use it to cover the jar lid. Now I wanted it bigger than the jar lid as well, because I wanted to wrap it around the jar lid and underneath, because this jar lid, as I said, is bigger than the actual jar, so I wanted to fit snugly. So having clay going underneath was absolutely perfect from my point of view. I just cut it out slightly bigger than the jar lid. You've got a bit blurred there, just so it was more of a circular piece. So it doesn't have to be perfect, because it was just all going underneath the actual jar. But you'll see it is worth making the effort of cutting it into a roundish shape. It's just quicker. And then just fold it under as best you can, just moving it out. You don't need to worry about this top being smooth at the moment, because you're going to make the mushroom sort of dome shortly on this. So it's just nicely in there at the moment. There we go. That's it. You want it to look round at this point, but just tucking it underneath the jar. If you can try and get it uniformed under the jar, that's better, because you want it to fit snugly on top, but you also want it to be sort of as symmetrical as is possible. As I said, this is a fairy house, it doesn't have to be perfect. So for the actual dome bit, just took a roll of clay and popped it in the middle, pushed it down, and then this takes a bit of time, but again it's worth it. With a bit of water on your fingers, you can smooth this out, keeping the raised bit, and then just smoothing it into the rest of the clay, so it blends in really nicely, and you will eventually end up with a nice smooth dome. But said, it needs a bit of time, and it's worth making this bit of effort, just smoothing it around. The bit clay that's actually on the lid does stretch a little bit, but again that's fine, because you can just then push that underneath the actual lid, so that it's all hidden away and smooth. But as I said, this isn't a quick project, and you do just need to spend a little bit of time getting it right, because this is your foundation. So if you don't get the foundation right, then I don't think the rest of the house is going to look right. But it is worth it. It's actually very therapeutic, actually. I found this really enjoyable making this, and as I said, I'm going to make a couple more, because I really did enjoy doing it. But I'm going to do one with a wine bottle, which is going to be very different. So yeah, look, can you see it's all starting to come together now? It's getting very smooth. Okay, when you are happy with it, just put it to one side and let it dry. Right, so my house has dried, and I'm really chuffed with it, if you can see that. And then the top here, which will be the mushroom lid. Okay, so now what I want to do is put a door on here, and you might think, well, why didn't I do it while it was wet? Well, I want to use the actual frame of the door as a sort of stencil to make sure the door's perfect, the right size. And while it's dry, it's easier to do that. So that is the method to my madness. So I need to obviously roll out some clay. That is a load of just having a mad half hour. Fido's gone somewhere for peace and quiet. Okay, so just got the clay there. Just make sure it's the right width. There it is. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just place that on there and just press it, if you can see. Let's get rid of the lid, don't need that right now. There we go. Right, and then that, if you can see, has given me a perfect outline, which I can just cut out with a knife. There we go. So and pull it out. Just soften the edges again. There's a bit there that hasn't cut. There we go, like that. And then I'm just going to check against. Okay, and just. Okay, so it might just need a little bit more of a trim. That's fine. Okay. Is it worth having a draft in your doorway? That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so I'm happy with my door at the moment as it is. So what I want to do is put a little window inside it. So I'm just going to cut a heart out because obviously the theme of this little house is hearts. Rid of that. Okay, and just make sure it's smooth. Okay, and then obviously because it's a door, it's going to be made of wood. I'm just going to turn it over because obviously you get a better image. And then using my clay knives, I'm just going to put an indent in here, like this. Just to make it look a little bit like it's slats of wood. Okay, there we go. Just pick that up. And I'm just going to place it inside. Just gently put it in. And then if there's any extras that need taking off, just gently peel it off. So if you did this when it was all wet, you'd end up cutting into your door edge as well, which is what I didn't want to do. So just pop that in. Make sure you've got all your edges in. And that, and down to the floor. Okay. That's it. And if you just need to define any of your wood again, just do it quickly. Not quickly, you can take your time, obviously. There we go. And obviously no door is complete without a doorknob. I'm just going to take a piece of the clay, roll it in my fingers, and I'm just going to fix it to whichever size you want. That's Lola tapping the window. There you go. So I'm going to leave that to dry again overnight, and in the meantime I'm going to work on the top of my mushroom. Right, so I've got a bit of red paint in a plastic yogurt pot lid. You can use a palette, proper palette if you want to, but you don't need to spend money on things like that. These work just as good, and so it's just normal acrylic paint in red, and I'm just going to paint the whole of the top and this beautiful red paint. I'll obviously put the white of the dots on once it's all dry. So I will paint underneath, but when it's dry. So what I don't want to do is damage the bit that you will see by putting it upside down. I have got another glass jar here which I'll use to help dry the pot, and because I've used my fingers to hold it, I just want to go around where my fingers were and just make sure that I don't have any fingerprints on the top bit. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry before we paint on the white dots. It's looking good. What do you think? I know it's only the top bit, but it looks lovely, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to go back to the house. Right, so whilst the door is still drying, I can paint the rest of the house, because what I want to do is put some flowers around it. So again, I'll build it all up as and when I can. and so I'm going to do bits and pieces at a time. Okay, you'll see that there is bits of clay sort of on the glass there where the window is, but that's not a problem, because what I'll do is I've got some nail wipes which I will use, and I will actually clean that off at the end. It's bound to get a little bit dirty while I'm doing all this. Just going to define my little heart window there actually while it's still wet. Make sure it looks perfect for me. There we go. Right, okay, so let's go back to my house. So it's a mushroom. So mushrooms are like a lighter brown. So I'm just going to pop a bit of brown on my plastic lid. Oops, would help to open this one. Okay, so this is a very light brown, if you can see that. And I'm going to use a sponge applicator. You can just use a washing up sponge as well if you want to. You've seen me use that quite a few times. A new one, obviously, not one you've just done your dishes with. Okay, and I'm just dab it because I want a lot. And I'm just going to brush the outside of this. And you'll start to see where I cut in for the brickwork. I haven't got a lot of paint on my brushes. If you have too much paint, then you will end up getting it inside of the white. And I want to keep the white white. That makes sense? There we go. So I'm going to leave that to dry now. As when it was drying out the clay, I'm going to pop it on top of a bottle so that the base dries as well without getting damaged. And then we can start working on it again tomorrow. Right, so I just need to finish off my mushroom. Now the bottom, or top rather, has dried. So just going to do on the inside now. I know you can't see it when the lid's on, but I do think it's nice to have it all done properly. Right, so that's now finished. So that just needs to dry off, and I can start on the house. So I'll just pop that to one side. Okay, so with the house, I need to start thinking about painting the doorway, and then just want to paint the inside of the hearts a dark brown. So I've got a burnt sienna here, if you can see that, and I need a very thin paintbrush for the inside of the heart, and then just a slightly bigger one for the doorway. Otherwise it'll take me forever to paint it otherwise, if it's too thin. So just pop this in my palette. You probably can't see that there. Can you see that? There you go. So alright, so let's do the door first. that's my doorway. Now, top tip is brush the actual direction of the sort of the woodwork effect. Okay, so for example, the wood is going up and down here, so I'm going to brush up and down. Just helps with the effect of wood if you're brushing in the right direction. And make sure you cover anywhere that's a little bit white. Okay. Quite pleased with that, looks quite good. So now I need to do the inside of the wood. So I'm going to go for an even finer paintbrush and just paint delicately. Delicately? That's the right word, isn't it? Inside. Take your time with this bit. So you want to make it look as good as possible. Okay, so that is all painted. I need to leave it to dry, and then what I'll do is I'll come back to it and I'll clean the glass before I then put a varnish over it to protect it. But it's looking good, do you think? There we go. Okay, so this is dried now, and I just need to start putting on the white spots of my mushroom. So I'm just going to use an acrylic pen again and just randomly add in white circles, trying to keep them relatively the same and circular, obviously. There we go. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and then I will varnish it and just seal it. So I'm quite pleased with that. I now need to work on the house and put some flowers and some leaves around it to make it a little bit more fairy and sort of little cottagey like. So yeah, we'll come back to that later. Right, so here's my house, and I want to put some flowers around here. And I'm not great at freestyling, so I have got this sort of stamp actually, which I'm going to use. So I'm going to put this onto some of the clay and then cut it out from that. Right, so first of all I'm going to roll this out, and I'm going to roll it out onto my plastic here. I don't need the whole length of this because I only want it to sort of go around the doorway here. So I'm probably going up to about here on the leaf. So I don't need a massive amount of clay at this point. So I'm just going to lay a bit that I do want. Just see if I've got enough, just a little bit more to roll out. Okay. And then I'm just going to lay that on and push it in. like so. And then I'm going to cut it out, which is going to be a challenge, but I'm going to do it. It's going to take a bit of time and it's worth making the effort. This is where I need my glasses as well. So let's get my glass case, my glasses on, and I'm just going to literally cut around the stencil. So I'll show you this when it's done. Right, okay, so I've cut it out and I've sort of separated the leaves and the flower and stuff because I want to mould it around. So I'm going to start off with a stem back here. Just got a couple of leaves on. I just want to sort of see where I want it first. So about like that, I think. Okay, and I'm just going to press it down. Okay, and then I've got my flower. I'm just going to pop there. And then another leaf tucked in around there. And then maybe another leaf about there. Okay. What do you think? It'll be okay. I'm gonna have to paint it obviously, but it just gives me a little bit of greenery. So I just need to get some Mod Podge and just stick that down. So just placed it on initially just because I wanted to make sure it was in the right place. So let me just get my Mod Podge and I'll lay on a paintbrush. Okay, so I'm just going to lift off each piece and pop it back down. Okay. Okay. Okay, and I need to leave that to dry, and I'm going to do the same on the other side, just to give it a little bit more greenery as well. So I'll show you that when I've done that as well. Right, so there's my little giant sunflowers. So once that's dry, I will paint those yellow and obviously green for the leaves and the stem. I'll show you that when it's done. Right, so this is dried. I just now need to start painting. So I've got my palette here with my red and green, sorry, yellow and green, and I'll start with the yellow first, just to get the flower done. I am going to put orange in the middle because this is a sunflower. Right, okay, so I've added a bit of grass around the edges as well, just to give it a bit more effect. What do you think? So that just needs to dry, and then I'm going to paint the orange of the sunflower in, which again I'll leave to dry, and it'll be ready to varnish. But before I varnish it, what I'll also do is I will clean the windows. I don't know if you can see there. And I'm going to use some nail polish remover just to give it a really good clean on a little cloth. It'll look good with the lid on, don't you think? So I'll show you when I come back. Right, so what did you think? It is a long project, I know, but it's fun and it's worth it. I'm really pleased the way it came out. As I said, I'm going to do a couple more one with a bottle, and I've got different sized jars and things like that, which I think I can make some more. And once you've done your first one, you can sort of be more creative on your second and your third and your fourth. So yeah, so I do hope you like that. If you do, guys, guess what I'm going to say? Subscribe, click notifications, and give me a thumbs up. Alright guys, I'll see you in my next project. Don't forget, keep crafting. See you soon.